geared, like all abuse help places, it's geared specifically to pamper women. Let's just be honest here. A man doesn't need to be supported with words. Someone who is already speaking, who is already trying to tell you what's going on, doesn't need to hear "I'm sorry." Those are icebreakers for children who are afraid to speak up and women who need to be pampered. I don't need to be pampered. I need you to listen. I don't need you to offer advice. I need you to listen. I'm trying to turn in crimes that were committed against me and others. I am an at-risk adult. It's very important. Now we're going to break down this video here to the best of my abilities. There's a lot of little stuff that I'm not able to cover when somebody's busy changing the subject. And she keeps doing it because she's got an assumption in her head. And every time she starts talking, I have to try to get her attention back to what I'm saying. I try to give her a general synopsis of what's going on, and then I try to fill in the details. The stuff that I can remember. There's a lot of stuff in there that when we get to it, I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to explain the situation. I'm going to break it down for you. This is probably going to be a 2-part video, and I'll have to probably do the rest later on tonight because I don't have much battery on here. I'm wasting all of my resources to call people. Yeah. So let's go through all of the places that have mandated reporters who have gone out of their way to not do their jobs just here in Tillamook County alone. All right. Now, mind you, there's also 988 Lifeline and Suicide Hotline that I've called, and they do exactly the same thing. They talk over you. They assume for you and try to finish your sentences for you, and then make suggestions that show their assumptions. Did I ask you to send me to 300 places? Did I ask you to grill me? Now, this conversation here, it cut out about 5 minutes of it. Fortunately, it was some of the crap at the beginning. It's important, but it works when it works, and it don't when it don't. When it comes to autism, when it comes to abuse, period, most of us have PTSD. Now, we're going to read some of this stuff here. There's a whole list of how you're supposed to help the survivor. But number 1, believe. False reporting is very rare, yet survivors face doubt and blame from others. Believe survivors and tell them so. And after you've told them so, act so. When a survivor of abuse tells you they've been abused, yeah, that's what is important. When it's an at-risk adult, the fact that they told you that something happened is enough to start an investigation, and at that point, they have to do something with the evidence. They cannot expect the victim, who is disabled, to do things beyond their means. Natalie Bellinger and her friends and family made my life hell for over a year before she was killed. And I tried to turn it into mandated reporters to my friends. All the questions that this lady asked in this, I've answered 1,000 times. I've answered it to so many different people. I already know which direction they're going with it. And they're going the wrong direction because they're not listening, they're assuming. A lot of these people, you can hear the little bits in it where they want to speak. It's their turn to speak. And this is what we teach women, is that it's always a woman's turn to speak. If a man is being victimized, it's still her turn to speak. It's her opinion that matters. It's her assumptions that matter. She's not going to finish your sentences every time vocally. No, she's finishing them in her head for you and automatically spouting something out. I didn't ask her for advice. I have to turn in TFCC. That's Tillamook Family Counseling Center, and I can't remember every person's name. I have hundreds of recordings with them. There are names, however, that I do know. At the very beginning of this video, it's pretty slow, and it starts off as usual. I give the general synopsis to the best of my ability, and I try to make it as short and sweet as I can for as much as abuse as there's been. But also, it is the most important that wherever I am, I have a support network. That means a friend or family member that I can go to for help. Now, the abuse from Natalie Bollinger and her meth addict friends cut me off from all of that because of slander, and it was malicious. Now, let's fast forward. What's most important is preservation of the evidence and the safety of the victim. When all of these peoples and places are preying on the fact that, well, I have autism and I'm in a state of crisis because of abuse. Trying to turn in abuse when everybody thinks they already know what you're going to say. They've already assumed what you're going to say, and they think they know everything, and they're just going to talk over you. I needed to give details about Tillamook Family Counseling Center. And although I can't remember everybody's name off the top of my head, that's because I've had to literally deal with thousands of people. However, that 14-year-old girl who was assaulted in the Safeway parking lot, as soon as I start trying to tell about her, I get snapped at and talked over. The whole time that I'm talking to her, I'm trying to tell her about crimes. I tell her the general synopsis. And then I start trying to fill in details. And it's the details that she doesn't want to hear and talks over and changes the subject. At the end of the video, it's really, really, really bad. But at the beginning of the video, like, I'm doing my best to try to answer her questions. She's going out of her way to make a simple yes or no question into a big long tangent. I've been diagnosed as having post-traumatic stress disorder. That prevents me from being able to function. Did you know that? I can't function to do all the things that I'm asked to do. Now, with the sheer quantity of it, I obviously can't do these things by myself. Tillamook Family Counseling Center sent me to the other services. All of the other services wanted to suggest that I go to some other mandated reporter. When I went to the police to try to turn them in, I was bullied by officers like Lothman, Lotham. Of course, there's the multiple situations with Molly where, of course, cops didn't want to do anything. Like Lotham, and of course, Trent Olson. These people do this nationwide to homeless men. I am an at-risk adult, especially because I am homeless and because I am a male. Believe the victim. False reporting is very rare, but of course, I don't get to make a report because instead of the police doing their jobs, they talk over me and then send me to mental health. They refuse to do their jobs as mandated reporters and pull the mental health bullshit. Every time that I am forced to move, bullied into moving, which is what many of these services, as well as my bullies in these areas, want to bully me into doing. They don't want to do their jobs as mandated reporters, and these bullies, of course, don't like being told on. And how many of these people like being recorded? None of them. That's why so many people retaliated against me so hatefully. TCCHC, Dr. Danelle Boggs, is one of the situations that I have to turn in. The words that came out of her mouth. But I can't do that from inside my car because I have to have a place to plug in. I cannot physically run in and out of all these places with all of this evidence. Now, their protocol is that they're supposed to come out and they're supposed to look at my conditions, the situation that I'm living in. And when I tell them about abuse, they're supposed to take it seriously, and they're supposed to take the evidence seriously. When the mandated reporters that I'm sent to say it's not their job and they send me to somebody else. And I've explained to all of them, hey, I've already been sent to TCCHC. Those people aren't doing their jobs. And I have to record it because otherwise I'm just going to get talked over, and at least I have the evidence of the things that I'm telling you. But I have to be allowed to tell you. Number 2, listen, let the survivor choose when they want to talk and how much they want to share. Don't offer judgment or analysis. Instead, validate their experience. Well, I don't need you to validate it by doing anything except helping me to turn it in. This lady has already made her judgment before we start talking. All right, not literally before we start talking. She didn't know I existed before that. Number 3, support with words. Don't do this one. All right, this is something that many victims speak up about. We don't need to hear, I'm so sorry. That's harmful. That's interrupting unnecessarily. If we're already speaking, then you need to revert to number 2. Listen. Not number 3, support with words. Number 2 is listen. If I'm speaking, there's going to be more details. I'm going to tell you about the different agencies that I've gone to, but that is difficult to do when you are busy trying to send me to these places without hearing what places it is I'm trying to turn in. I tell you all of the services here, and then I'm going to elaborate. I'm going to elaborate on how many times the police lied to me and then changed their minds and changed the law again and again and again, and sent me to places like TFCC, TCCHC, Tides of Change, CARE. All of these different services sent me around in circles to each other. Meanwhile, the whole time I needed an advocate to go with me so these places wouldn't talk over me and make assumptions about what I'm trying to say or reword what I'm saying to them. And that's very common. That's why it's important to record it. Many people will tell you something, claim that they didn't, and later on victimize the hell out of you, especially when you show that, hey, they wanted to get angry and claim that they didn't say something. You show them that they did. When I am victimized by law enforcement and by predators on the street for doing what law enforcement told me to do and doing what therapists told me to do, and then I'm slandered on the internet, I'm slandered in real life, I'm slandered on the news. Now, if you were here in person, I could sit down and show you that stuff. But if I have to send it, it's 10 times harder. It's 100 times harder from the position I'm in. Having to do it with 2 phones that barely work and are full of evidence that nobody will look at. None of these people give me a way to send them evidence. She wanted to quote things that she knew to be wrong. If she doesn't know them to be wrong, then she didn't take mandated reporter training, and she shouldn't have a job. Health care. All healthcare workers, all of them, every one of them, all of them are mandated reporters. When the cops sent me to mental health workers and many other places, They sent me there because they claim that these people would help me how I need, because I am disabled and being victimized because of my disabilities. All this traffic driving by. I can't function while that's going on. I can barely think while that's going on. I'm stuck in public. I'm stuck here. When she wants to be angry about being recorded, you should look up the name Natalie Bollinger. No joke. But we're going to get to probably the most important one here. There's a lot of them that are very important. Number 4, respect privacy. If a survivor trusts you enough to tell you their story, don't tell anyone else. The exception, minors, disabled, or elderly people in at-risk situations. When you call Adult Protective Services, it asks you who you are, and then it asks you who you're calling for. Because they expect a friend or family member to call, because they're not going to listen to the victim. I've told you that repeatedly, and I've recorded it as well. I recorded how I was blown off and talked over at TFCC. I told this woman about the assault against the 14-year-old girl in the parking lot. We're going to get to hear when I start giving details. At the beginning, she starts trying to subtly change the subject. By the end of it, I am outright, bluntly just talking over her, telling the names, and she is not happy about it. She's also not happy about being recorded. Well, you know what? Nobody's threatening to kill her. Nobody's assaulting her. If she doesn't do her job, I get abused more, not her. There are no consequences for her not doing her job as a mandated reporter. Then, when I ask her a simple question, and it is a very simple question, are you a mandated reporter? It's a yes or no question. If you are a mandated reporter, I'm going to tell you crimes that were committed against me by the police. I'm going to tell you the specifics of which police. I'm going to tell you about the assault at the hospital, which is another thing that she wanted to do, the whole, don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me. All of these mandated reporters want to tell me not to tell them about the crimes. They are trying to prevent me from turning in the crimes. They get real fucking scared real quick and start talking 100 miles an hour to try to shut you up when you start telling them names. When they know that you have to have quiet in order to sit down and do this stuff. It's complicated, just like taxes. And all of these different service places, not a single one of them has a room for a victim to sit down in peace and quiet and write shit down. Instead, you want to send me any direction except listening to me tell you about the abuse, and then you're going to tell me you heard me. No, you heard the sound of my voice. The words that you were hearing were your own thoughts. The stuff that you're mulling over your head, because your assumption is that I'm coming to you as a retard who needs you to talk to me like I'm a retard. Not okay. It says respect privacy. The exception, minors, disabled, or elderly people in at-risk situations. Yeah. In those 3 situations, a mandated reporter has to do their job. None of these mandated reporters wanted to do their jobs. They just want to collect a paycheck. They don't care about turning in abuse. They care about collecting a paycheck. We're 20 minutes into this. It says, recognize boundaries. Violence can ruin a person's sense of safety. Provide a safe place for a survivor, such as giving alone time or asking before making physical contact. Advocate. There's a lot of misunderstanding about violence. Educate yourself about the facts and help inform others by sharing what you've learned. Now, this is specifically geared for women, which is why there is a lot going on. It says recognize barriers. Survivors face difficulties when reporting assault, seeking legal advice, getting medical support, and talking about the trauma. Knowing this can help. It hurts me to have to try to turn this in. It hurts me. None of these people are trying to recognize my barriers. See, that's why I need an autism advocate, but the autism places won't listen either. What they do is talk over me like I'm retarded. Support decisions, it says. It says you can provide information and options for the survivor. Don't do that. When they're trying to tell you what's going on, we need to refer to number 1 and number 2. Believe, listen. In reality, those need to be switched. It's listen and believe. But how are you going to believe what the person is saying when you're busy interrupting them and talking over them and, of course, trying to provide them with, more resources? You're going to send me back to the places who said that they're not going to do their jobs as mandated reporters? They're not going to listen to what I have to say. They're just going to assume that it's not their job and talk over me. Make sure they don't have to do their job. Make sure they get their paycheck, but do nothing to help the survivor. It says stay connected. Even if the violence happened a while ago, the pain can still exist. Check in to remind them you still care about them and believe them. Nobody checks in on me. Nobody cares. Once in a while, drug addicts that I knew back in the day get a hold of me to pretend they want to be friends when they're lonely. Because they already screwed everybody over. They already lied to everybody, manipulated everybody, and wasted people's times getting people killed. Mandated reporters didn't want to do their jobs. They pawned me off on each other, and they've done that for 11 months. All of these services have sent me to all of the other services. Now, there's a lot of witnesses to this, and we could have covered that. I'm trying not to give too many details, because I really would like to be able to record it just between me and an advocate. I don't care if she feels comfortable about it. I don't feel comfortable about it. But I don't have a choice. I don't get to go home at the end of the night. I don't have a home. It was taken away from me because Natalie Bollinger was killed. Now, there's better ones than this, but they tell you bad things to do at the end. Like give money and volunteer time to organizations working to support survivors, but they're not supporting survivors if they're talking over them, are they? All right, now let's get to the video. All right. I'm not good with electronics, so I have to ask others for help. I have to pay people money to help me with these things. I've been victimized by law enforcement here. I've seen them commit crimes against many others. There's a man named Robert Farnsworth, and police and his family and friends have repeatedly threatened, harassed, and intimidated me for trying to turn him in. He has assaulted me, and he has assaulted others in front of me, and I have recorded it. The thing is, I can't record 24/7. It eats up time and money. But I have to record 24/7 because I have to have the evidence. None of my predators are required to actually show evidence. Police officers have repeatedly threatened, harassed, and intimidated me. And, of course, There's people like Nicole Vertner. I tried to turn it in because she's a hospital worker. You're damn right she is. But she wanted to pawn me off on a meth addict. A meth addict who likes being homeless, and I already went to the drug addicts for help. The police slandered my name to these drug addicts. Not all of them. Now we're gonna specifically. We're watching my video. We're watching this video. All right, let's go to live. I'm overwhelmed and I can't function. I can't function because of the environment, and that includes the people in it. Alright, it says calling Rome, hoping for the best. Sounds too good to be true. Alright, we'll play this one. The most important part is that Adult Protective Services is Northwest Senior and Disability Services. Northwest Senior and Disability Services says it's not their job to do the mandated reporter thing, and then they try to run me through the loops of the stuff that they can get paid money for. When a crime is committed against me and I try to turn it in, nobody helps me to turn it in right away, and if I turn it in right away, I am talked over by police and sent to mental health. By the way, it was an hour-long video, but it only recorded 38 minutes of it. It's got 44 views already. That's pretty popular. You hear that beeping in the background? Yeah, for somebody autistic. For me, if I don't have to get stuff done, that beeping isn't a big deal. It still prevents me from being able to think. If I have to listen to that and somebody talking, it's 10 times more difficult. That's why it's important for me to not be stuck in public doing this. Being stuck in public with all of this going on, I can't think through it. Oh, is this Romy?
Yes, this is Romy.
My name is... You can tell after the night that I had last night, I was at the end of my fucking rope, and I'm still there. It's also Friday, and it's too late to turn anything in, and I don't know what happened with the Susan situation. The stuff last night was really bad. Sean David Schwartz. I was speaking to a gentleman named Victor about the abuse that I'm going through. You notice I'm afraid to speak. I know that this is somebody who is supposed to be a mandated reporter because she's a healthcare worker. And of course, with all of these places that I went to, I explained them, hey, I need help turning in long-term abuse. I don't have a friend or family member to help. I can't do these things for myself. I cannot take care of myself. I cannot defend myself or protect myself. I cannot take care of myself. Spoken with him a few times. I'm an autistic adult male. Most of the time I'm not like this. I'm in a state of crisis because of abuse.
Okay.
And I've gone to every service. Elaborate. I don't have an advocate. I don't have a friend or family member to help.
Okay.
And the police and a lot of other people have taken advantage of that. I've tried to go in person to show them what I'm going through because I just get talked over. And instead of people understanding, instead of trying to understand. Now, see, that's the thing. You can tell I'm having difficulties communicating. There's a reason I have difficulties communicating. I'm fucking scared and I'm overwhelmed and I'm tired. Autism, they assume that I'm mentally retarded. I have an IQ of 172.
Okay.
I'm overwhelmed and I'm harmed and harassed a lot. I have Tourette syndrome. I do this with my eyes. I do this with my wrists. I'm having to deal with a lot of abuse over my best friend getting her brains blown out in Colorado. And I was stalked here river. I tried to turn stuff into the cops, but I was trying to tell her about the guy in the Dolphin RV. And of course it cut out on me again. Forced into homelessness because Natalie got her brains blown out. It's a real true crime story. Bad people, and I've got evidence of it. And there it cut out again. I've also got evidence that I've been to every service here since I got here, and all they've done is run me around in circles and try to run me out of town.
I'm sorry.
I can't do much more than generalize because I don't have a place to organize it. How am I supposed to organize in this? Meanwhile, I've got back injuries. I've got leg injuries. I got wrist injuries. I got a hip that hurts like a mofo. When she starts giving suggestions, she said she's sorry. That's something you don't need to do to a guy.
Okay, so let me try to understand. First of all, have you talked at all with Tides?
Now, when she said that she was sorry, she took control of the conversation by using that sorry. That sorry was not something that helped me at all. It didn't reinforce me or make me believe that she was going to help me turn it in. No, this was her opening to make it her turn to talk a whole bunch. I cut her off because I'm trying to make a report. Now, at this point, I'm getting ready to start breaking it down for just the stuff that's happened in the last few days and who did it. The names that I can remember, where the evidence is at, who I've called already, and explain that to the best of my abilities, but I don't have a place to go through it. I gotta explain why I don't have a place. I had a place before Natalie was killed, finally, and low income. But I was being abused there too.
Change.
I have.
Okay. Go ahead.
So tied to change. Monica knew that I had to have my computer set up and in front of me to answer any of the questions that she's going to ask me. In order for me to give most of the names, I have to have access to my computer and some peace and quiet and not be rushed because there is a lot of evidence. A lot of it. There's a woman there named Monica, and she was going to help me, but I had to... So what happened? Well, Officer Martinez was under the impression that Monica was going to help me with that, and Monica didn't help me with that. I explained to her, hey, you can't just call me at random. I have to find the time to go hook up my computer, and I have to find a place to do it. Meanwhile, there's businesses here that I was harmed at because the cops didn't want to do their jobs about predators like Molly. Tom ended up being predatory too. Explained to her probably 2 to 3 dozen times that I needed her to stop pushing housing. It takes 2 years. I needed someone to help me turn in the crimes committed against me. There we go. We missed another couple of minutes there. Like I said, it's over an hour long, and that's one of the issues with having to do this in the sun, in the heat, during the day, in my car, without any assistance. I just get talked over, but we haven't gotten quite that far yet. That's at the end of the video. This video itself is actually only 38 minutes and 32 seconds long. So there's over 20 minutes of the video that's not there. Right away. Okay. It wasn't until our second or I think it was our third appointment, and I said, hey, here's the thing, I'm still being abused. I've been abused repeatedly since I've been coming to your office to try to turn in abuse. I need someone to be here with me when the police are here so that they won't do what it is that they've done to me repeatedly, which is blow me off, victimize me, and send me to mental health. So Monica was going to help me. Monica said that she would get a hold of me at like 3:30 or 3:45. And she called me that day at like 3:30, 3:45. And she wanted me to do all of these things that I needed a room to sit down in with my computer. I didn't need Monica even there. If she's not going to advocate for me and she's just going to talk over me and push me towards housing, I don't need her there. I just need the room so that I can sit down and write this down. So that I can hook up my computer and do what needs to be done. And it's going to take more than 50 minutes. Monica gets paid whether I'm victimized or not. So when she did that, even though she knew, because I explained to her multiple occasions, hey, I need a place to set up my computer so that I have access to that. And I need someone to help me with it because I don't know how to do this computer stuff. I've been trying. The tools that I'm using are the tools that people showed me how to use. This is long-term abuse over crimes I didn't even commit. Yeah.
Did you see a black jacket fall out over here?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. I lost my place. I guess I'll have to press play. Oh, yeah. So when she called me, I tried explaining to her, hey, I need to be able to set up my computer in order to do that. I explained that to you at your office. She also wanted to tell me she couldn't look at evidence. All of them do that. When it comes to actual details, they'll all talk over you. I had to literally talk over Monica because she wouldn't shut up. Like I said, all of these places that I went to, TFCC, TCCHC, the hospital on December 29th when I was assaulted. January. Then there's November 22nd when I was there. In all of these situations, I told these people that I was trying to turn in crimes that were committed against me and that I am an at-risk adult. That means that they need to stop all of their assumptions and they need to kick into mandated reporter mode and listen to the victim. Systemic abuse means that they play on bias and their assumptions get in the way of them doing their jobs. By the time I'm able to focus in this, which I can't do while I'm stuck out here and talking to you guys, because I shouldn't have to talk to YouTube. I never wanted to go to YouTube. What I wanted was for mandated reporters to do their jobs. With that, but the thing realized that I was explaining to her my situation, and she spent so much time talking over me, she literally ignored every word that came out of my mouth. And a lot of those things are very important, especially for somebody who's autistic. And it didn't even register to her. So, yeah, it's the thing about autism is that when you send me out on the streets, first of all, I'm easy to victimize because I'm not just physically disabled. I'm also mentally disabled. I have PTSD. That is my mental disability, not autism. I have PTSD because you punish autism, especially high-functioning autism. That officer, he went out of his way not to listen to me, not to look at any of the evidence, not to make any effort to do that. And Monica wasn't willing to help me with that. She wasn't trying to understand that I am unsafe here. I am harmed frequently and often because I am easy to victimize. I don't do drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I'm physically disabled and I am mentally disabled, both from physical abuse and psychological abuse. I'm an at-risk adult. I get called mentally ill, and magically any crimes committed against me must be figments of my imagination.
Are you working at all with senior disability services?
I've attempted. They committed felonies because I'm trying to turn in cops in this town. I'm trying to turn in the cops. For why? Because they keep sending me to mental health instead of allowing me an interview room where I can write this shit down. Instead of allowing me a safe place to do that. They force me onto the streets where I, an at-risk adult, will be victimized repeatedly. They have an interview room. I'm told to call 911. I called 911 repeatedly. I get blown off, they don't make a report. And here's the thing about many of these people, like Officer Martinez. He was recorded just yesterday admitting that he never made a report. Then again, Monica never helped me with the things that I needed help with. I needed help in person, not over the phone. I needed a place where I could set up my computer so that I could go through that evidence. And no, the library is not an acceptable place to do it. But that's the problem with you not listening and being too busy making assumptions and suggestions. We're only 5 minutes into a 38-minute video. Ma'am, I'm wanting to stop the abuse is what I'm wanting. I never wanted to stop in Tillamook. I was abused into coming here, and now I'm being abused into leaving. I can't afford to run around all these services. I was threatened, harassed, and intimidated by police. They do that to the homeless everywhere we go. And we're talked over everywhere we go. Just for them to run me around to other services, they're all referral services. Not one of them helps disabled people. And here's the thing, all she's trying to do is referral service. These are all mandated reporters. They're supposed to, but I've got literally hundreds of recordings that show that they don't. They talk over us. Times of change did not help. Monica knew that I had to have my computer in front of me and I needed a place that was quiet. That is important for somebody who is autistic, and I have literally not had that. By the way, that's important for everybody. A lot of these neurotypicals that come and whine at me, they're whining because they can barely hear it. But then they expect me to be able to function just fine and to hear everything just fine. And no, it's worse for me. I can't turn off my disabilities. And you're not going to try to learn anything about my disabilities. But at least I'm trying to explain it. Since Natalie Bollinger got her brains blown out.
Is it, do you have, because it's sounding like there's a whole bunch of things going on for you, and that must feel very overwhelming. So it sounds like you're worried about your safety, you do a lot of things, and I don't want to overlook the safety, but I'm also wondering,
you hear that?
Do you have access to, can you go to the library and get a library card?
I have a library. She's obviously too busy making suggestions. This is the point where I should be filling in details about the safety issue here in Tillamook. and how complicated it is. She's not going to be able to understand how complicated it is. None of these people are going to be able to understand how complicated it is unless they sit down and look at what I have to look at. If they actually come and physically sit in my fucking seat and actually take a look, instead of trying to force me to do things that I am incapable of. Not by choice. I've been trying these things. Card, and I've been to the library. That's the thing about trying to explain my disabilities. Just because everybody has the same idea doesn't mean I'm able. I'm called mentally ill and ignored by Band-Aid. See, at this point, I'm already feeling really uncomfortable with the situation. I'm having problems with her making suggestions, and I'm trying to explain to her that I'm trying to turn in predators at all of the services, and then I'm trying to name off the services, but when I start naming off the services, she interrupts, doesn't she? Not sure if you noticed that. Recorders.
Well, I'm not calling you mentally ill. I'm just trying to understand what resources.
Here's the thing, is that she's busy trying to shove me off on someone else. I needed her to do her job. I needed a reporter. That's what I called her for. I need a civilian to help because all of these places are going to tell me that they can't do it. They're restricted from it, and so on and so forth. That was not the case with Natalie Bollinger. Matter of fact, that wasn't the case with any of my predators. Anything they wanted to do was okay because police weren't going to listen. They were going to talk over me and try to make suggestions of me running around in circles with my fucking, like a chicken with my head cut off. I can't function because I am stuck here. And people trying to bully me to move and threatening me and yelling racial slogans at me. That don't feel good. It's also very scary. Lighthouse Society typed, "What did you eat today?" I don't know. Just a pack of Ritz crackers, I suppose. Anyway, this lady's real busy thinking that what I need is advice. I don't need her advice. I don't need her to try to finish my sentences. I don't need her to try to interrupt me to say that she doesn't understand. She's not understanding because she's busy talking. But the bad part isn't at the beginning. It's at the end.
Other ones I might be able to help you because I'm not going to pretend like I have a magic wand and that I know all the answers to things. But I want to try to help. Are you on Oregon Health Plan?
I'm with, let me see on my wallet. I think it's... See, now at this point, I have to start digging through my car and through all the trash in it to try to find my wallet so that I can tell her the name of it because I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. Called Columbia Pacific.
Yep, that's us. Okay, so Oregon Health Plan, then there may be people on our regional care team, and that's a team of caseworkers.
Now right there's about 4 or 5 minutes there that's missing.
That can reach out and talk with you and figure out what we can do to help support you. And I don't have the ability to get involved in people's legal issues. But the other thing I'm going to say...
Legal issues? It's abuse I'm trying to turn in. Abuse. I have the legal issues because I tried to turn in abuse. And my predators had help and I didn't. I was denied the assistance that an at-risk adult is supposed to have by law.
And I don't know if anyone else has suggested to you Oregon Law Center.
Now here she's, see, just busy making suggestions. How are you going to help the victim if you're not listening to them? It's pretty complicated. Ma'am, I've literally called everyone there is to call. That's the thing. I'm a disabled and at-risk adult. Every time that she interrupts me, I have to literally tell her the same shit over and over again, hoping it will sink in, hoping that she will understand that I'm not mansplaining. I'm supposed to have somebody here to prevent me from being talked over and belittled and harmed. Ma'am, Now, some of these places were really nice. Some of the, well, not the places themselves, some of the people that worked there were really nice, but they weren't doing their jobs. They were making it worse by not listening, and this has happened from one end of Oregon to the other, where I am bullied into moving again, and then I have to start over when I get to the new jurisdiction, and I have to hope that someone will help me immediately when I get there. Because if not, I'm going to get victimized by the local homeless population and by the police, because I can't take care of myself, and the police are going to pawn me off on a bunch of different services where a bunch of drug addicts hang out and a bunch of homeless people hang out. And not all drug addicts are homeless. Not all homeless are drug addicts.
Okay.
Literally hundreds of crimes that have been committed against me.
Okay. So if I shared out your contact information
Like,
with somebody
I'm trying to
unarmed,
tell her, hey, I'm trying to turn in hundreds of crimes that are committed against me, and I don't get to proceed with details because, again, she's interrupting me. She's derailing the train.
who is a CCO who might be able to go over some things with you and see if there are anything we can do, because I'm assuming I'm the first person you've talked to
No.
from the CCO. No, I'm not?
No, ma'am. Go through you guys through TCCHC, Tillamook Community Health Centers,
Right.
or Tillamook County.
No, that's
Community Health
yeah,
Centers.
I know who you're talking about, but I mean, that's
Here
not
I
the
was trying
CCO.
to say it so that I made sure that I said the right place. And she starts talking, and she already knows it. And please just let me finish, because every time that I don't. No, you don't know, because you haven't let me finish. The reason at this point that I am having such difficulty speaking, why is it in that video that I'm having such difficulties? Because I keep getting interrupted, and every time I'm interrupted, I'm afraid that she's going to interrupt me again, and I'm not going to get heard. I'm going to have to deal with her assumptions, and she's projecting her assumptions with her suggestions. She's assuming that I came to her for her to send me somewhere else. No, I came to her for the same reason that I went to these other places. I needed a mandated reporter to do their jobs, and it needed to be documented. That way, if they don't do their jobs, there are consequences.
I was just curious if anyone else. Sorry. I'm working from home, so I have a kid in the background.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm working from inside of a vehicle, and I don't have any technical skills. People taught me how to save the evidence. I followed the stuff that lawyers told me, but the thing is that my predators call me mentally ill, and that's the way that I'm treated when I go to any of these services. I've had to... I notice at this point, I haven't gotten very far. I'm trying to give details, but if I get to details, then she's going to talk over me. So I try to explain to her in a nice way where she's not going to be offended or think that it's all about her, because that right there is something that I can't deal with. I need someone to act professional. At this point, she's done nothing but make suggestions that I run around to the places that I'm trying to turn in. Try to turn in police officers since I got to town.
Okay. So, where did you get my number so I can kind of understand how I can...
There's a guy named Victor. He works down by the Tillamook Sporting Goods, and I've spoken with him a few times.
I know Victor. Okay, yeah, he works at the gaming place.
Yeah, he kind of made you sound like a Well, too good to be true for sure.
Yeah, I love Victor. He's great. I've known him for many years, and I want to help you. I'm just not sure what is the thing. It sounds like you need some sort of protection, and I don't know what the CCO can do to help protect you, and I'm trying to think.
Ma'am, I need someone to help me to turn in the crimes against me safely. Speak to the police. Someone has to be there with me who's going to prevent them from talking over me. My disabilities prevent me from being able to have a place of my own because I was victimized out of my own place.
So are you basically saying that no one from Tides of Change is willing to sit with you while you talk to the police?
Now, see, here's the thing, is that she's not paying attention to what I'm saying. She's focusing on the questions that she wants to ask. Yes, Monica did finally, after multiple appointments, where I was expressly explaining to her I was trying to turn in crimes, that I needed a mandated reporter. By the way, she didn't tell me that she wasn't a mandated reporter, and the police were trying to claim that this place was supposed to help victims of abuse. It didn't end up working out, did it? And I'm sorry, I almost fell asleep during that. I'm telling you that I can't do any of the stuff that they're telling me to do without actual assistance in person. I can't just write it all down. I'm in a state of crisis and I can barely function. I can't think over the traffic. It gets even worse when people are violent and belligerent and hateful. But I have to hold it together while nobody else is expected to. They can actually blow up on me, actually harm me, and nobody will do anything about it. Because I'll get talked over if I try to turn it in. Or physically assaulted. I will be forced, literally forced, to break the law to get heard. The thing is that the lady from Tides of Change, yeah, she did sit with me while that officer was there. That was great. And she didn't speak up, and she let that officer talk over me and change the subject a lot worse than this one. A lot worse. He was going out of his way to make any excuse for not investigating, for talking over me, for pretending like Monica is somehow going to help me with this. No, Monica didn't help. She did not help. What she did is ignore what I was telling her and then do everything that I set as boundaries for my safety. All of the things that I said, if you do these things, it will make me unsafe. She did those things. She didn't ever speak up. She refused to look at any of the evidence. She didn't tell me until much